Hello everyone. So today we're going to be talking about a character that is semi-famous in the Marvel Universe, somebody who is in the TV shows in the Disney Plus series. We're talking about Moon Knight. Now Moon Knight was born in Chicago, Illinois as Mark Spector, the Jewish American son of Elias Spector, a rabbi who survived Nazi persecution. In the other void, a realm outside of normal time and space, the entity Khonshu, once worshipped as a moon god by the people of the ancient Egypt world, becomes interested in Mark. Khonshu and those like him cannot leave the other void without great difficulty, but can create psychic connections with hosts and avatars in the physical universe. Believing Mark Spector to have a weak mind that makes him vulnerable to psychic connection, Khonshu chooses the boy to one day act as his knight and avatar. After Khonshu chooses Mark, the boy discovers by chance that Rabbi Yitz Perlman, a close friend of his family, is really a Nazi named Ernst who continues to target and murder Jews. Mark fights Perlman and escapes. Perlman then disappears without a trace. Soon afterward, Mark Spector begins showing signs of dissociative identity disorder. Mark believes he meets and befriends a boy named Stephen Grant, not realizing he himself is acting as Stephen at times. In a vision, Mark sees Khonshu promising to one day heal the boy's mind. Khonshu, being an entity who has multiple aspects to his personality and exists out of phase with normal time and space, later claims Mark's alters is the result of the mind trying to echo the moon god's own multifaceted nature. As a teenager, Mark exhibits another alter in addition to Stephen, named Jake Lockley. The appearance of this third alter leads Mark's parents to send him to live in Putnam Psychiatric Hospital. However, he is released to attend his father's funeral, and Mark escapes to join the U.S. Marine Corps, where he becomes a formidable combatant and a trained heavyweight boxer. After Mark serves 3 years in Force Recon, the Marines discover he lied on his paperwork and conclude his history of mental illness makes him unfit for duty. He is discharged and earns a living as an underground boxer and fighter in Baghdad until he is recruited by French pilot and mercenary Jean-Paul Frenchy Duchamp. The two work together on several assignments, and during this time, Spector encounters CIA operative Jason Macendale, who is also the legendary Jack-o'-lantern as well as a previous hobgoblin. Mark's brother, Randall Spector, becomes a mercenary as well, but is driven by bloodlust, and after a violent confrontation, Mark leaves Randall for dead. Eventually, Frenchie and Mark meet mercenary Raoul Bushman, who is impressed by their work and recruits them to help with certain jobs. Spector considers that morally he exists in the center between Frenchie, a good man with a firm moral center, and Bushman, a ruthless, often amoral man who takes pride in his ability to kill. Spector and Frenchy accept a contract with Bushman helping a local warlord in the Sudan quell a rebellion. One of the rebels they shoot down is Mark's own brother, Randall, though Mark is unaware of this and doesn't even know that Randall is in the area. Despite his bullet wounds, Randall survives, convinced Mark recognized him and is deliberately trying to kill him. Mark Spector is appalled at Bushman's bloodlust, and then he targets civilians as well as enemy combatants. Bushman kills Dr. Peter Alrooney, an archaeologist whose team recently unearthed a hidden tomb. Bushman intends to loot the tomb and kill any witnesses. However, defeated, Spector is injured and abandoned in the desert without food or shelter. Locals carry him to the tomb and leave him before a statue of Khonshu, the moon god and protector of travelers at night. Marlene realizes Mark saved her life and earlier prepares to mourn him as his heart stops. Moments later, Mark Spector revives, fully healed. He claims to have seen the moon god Khonshu and has been chosen to now act as the moon's Knight of Vengeance, the Fist of Khonshu. Marlene believes this is a dream or a delusion. However, Mark takes a silver hooded cloak from the statue of Khonshu, adopting it as his own. Randall watches this all from nearby, and as soon as Mark leaves, Randall presents himself to the same statue of Khonshu, hoping to also be blessed with power and to have his wounds healed. When nothing happens, he pretty much resents Mark for winning the moon god's favor instead. Now, Moon Knight's powers and abilities are a little up in the air. From writer to writer, they're a little bit different. Sometimes he's pretty powerful, and other times he is basically street level. But we're going to go over some of the things that he can do. Moon Knight is an Olympic-level athlete and is a skilled acrobat who excels at combat strategy. He is also a superb driver and can pilot a helicopter. Thanks to his life experience and training as a U.S. Marine, boxer, and mercenary, Mark Spector became an expert at hand-to-hand combat, marksmanship, boxing, kung fu, eskrima, judo, karate, ninjutsu, savate, and Muay Thai. Moon Knight's fighting style combines elements of various combat techniques and relies heavily on his own adaptability, using the environment to his own advantage, intimidating his opponents, and accepting a certain level of pain and injury that comes along with battling. His fighting style is so awkward that the mercenary Taskmaster, who can perfectly replicate fighting styles, has stated before that he prefers not to copy Moon Knight since the hero would sometimes rather take a punch or block or dodge it. This is all done because Moon Knight has shown to possess a very high tolerance for pain and or torture. Now in the comics, on more than one occasion, Mark Spector has died and then been resurrected by the other dimensional entity known as Khonshu. It is not known if Khonshu will continually do this, thus making Mark Spector effectively immortal for a time. This rule is also changed if Khonshu decides to choose a new champion. Due to his brain being altered by Khonshu, Mark Spector is more resistant to telepathic and psychic attack than the average hero or villain. He sometimes experiences visions of prophecy or enhanced insight. Some initially believed these visions were delusions or inspired simply by Spector inadvertently performing self-hypnosis, but it is now known that Khonshu is real and grants him these visions. It has been implied in several stories that Mark's connection to Khonshu and this supernatural insight increases, especially when he wears his Moon Knight costume, as it represents vestments of the visions. The villain for hire, Profile, has a superhuman analysis ability that does not function properly on beings with supernatural magic-based abilities, and remarked that he found it painful to look at Mark Spector whenever the hero donned his Moon Knight costume. Now, Profile wasn't sure if this was due to Spector's mental illness or if wearing the costume helped Moon Knight tap directly into the Moon God's power. During the time that Moon Knight adopted golden and ivory weapons, these weapons symbolizing the status of the Fist of Khonshu, his strength, endurance, and reflexes would increase depending on the phases of the moon, and so he's his strongest on a full moon night. Even during a new moon, he can lift several hundred pounds all on his own. Although some believed his superhuman strength had absolutely nothing to do with Khonshu and was the result of self-hypnosis, it is now known that Khonshu is real and directly connected to Mark Spector. But after the Serpent War, Mark's patron deity Khonshu opted to further empower his champion on Earth with all new abilities in preparation for the rise of Mistopheles. By giving his herald the lion's share of the moon's supremacy power, Mark could be endowed with all abilities of his namesakes as the Fist of Khonshu, along with a couple others outside of the criteria. He is also granted the transformational capability to change to and from his costume identity at will. On top of these powers, he actually has control over lunar effects, such as creating astral rock formations consisting of planetary orbital satellites, raising and commanding the dead, mummies loyal to his divinity, lunar empowerment under the new moon created by Khonshu's will, and the ability to survive unaided in the cold recesses of space without any life support. These powers give Moon Knight enough raw might to battle and defeat the world's most powerful heroes. For a brief time, Moon Knight became a host avatar for the immortal Phoenix Force, the cosmological raptor that governs life, death, and rebirth throughout the universe, and potentially even the multiverse, possessing all the typical skills and abilities of an avatar to the cosmic entity regarding cosmic pyrokinesis, telekinesis, flight, etc. As Moon Knight, Spector typically wears lightweight Kevlar body armor and a specifically constructed silver glider cape that can catch winds and thermal updrafts. He typically wears metal bracers on his wrists and calves, and in later costumes have added metal plates providing extra protection to his chest and shoulders. Moon Knight employs a variety of weapons over the course of his career, many of which involved or are made of silver. Most of his commonly used weapons are silver crescent darts and an adamantium reinforced truncheon that can fire a grappling hook and extend into a bow staff. Also, at times, he has used nunchaku and compound bows. For a brief time, Moon Knight wore gauntlets that were also spiked knuckles. At one point, Moon Knight accepted golden and ivory Egyptian-themed weapons created by followers of Khonshu. These included bola snares, golden scarab-shaped darts, an ivory boomerang, throwing irons, an axe-shaped lasso grapple, and a golden-shaped blunt weapon which glowed in the presence of danger. These items were later replaced with duplicate weapons designed by Hawkeye. During the events of Dark Reign, the Tinkerer makes Moon Knight carbon adamantium armor with joint-locking functions, reinforcing his strength. Moon Knight uses this feature to support a building from collapsing, and despite the lack of superhuman strength, he still does so. Additionally, the armor could instantly assemble around his body after being triggered by remote control. For transportation, Moon Knight employs a variety of sophisticated aircraft such as the Mooncopter and the Angel Wing, which is a mini-jet featuring VTOL, a vertical takeoff and landing system, and some 20mm cannons. At times, Moon Knight has also used a white customized motorcycle, a remote-controlled white limousine, and a remote-controlled crescent-shaped drone glider capable of carrying a single person. During the onset of the Age of Khonshu event, Mark was provided by the cult, whom worships his divinity with magical inks that enable him to drain away and utilize the primordial powers bestowed on Earth's mightiest through their colorful prehistoric ancestry. Taking the powers of the Iron Fist from Daniel Rand, the spirit of vengeance from the Ghost Rider alongside his Hell Charger, and the mystical abilities pertaining to the Sorcerer Supreme Doctor Strange. He acquires all these with the intent of assimilating those of the Star Brand, the Phoenix Force, and the Odin Force imbued hammer belonging to the All-Father Thor as well. And this concludes our take on the Moon Knight. We hope you enjoyed our video. Please like, share, and subscribe. We really do appreciate that around here. Also, don't forget to leave a comment down below. Tell us what kind of hero or villain or anti-hero that you would like to hear about, and we will try to make it happen. As always, Excelsior, see ya.